Good boy, Tucker.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
Work smarter where you want.
Consistency is key.
And remember, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened.
This is learning at its most fun.
All right, hello everybody. So today we're going to talk about leveraging the life cycle, and that's referring to the client life cycle. So starting from a lead, working the way into the prospecting, going through the onboarding process, and then eventually them becoming a client, and how we can leverage that to help us build more business. So if you joined us yesterday, you know that I enjoy role playing as part of the training process. And so we're going to do a little bit more of that today. And so I have some characters that I'm going to be corresponding with, and they're going to be voiced today by Curtis. And so
I'm going to have to preface that I am not a character voice actor by any means. So the characters will have my voice. I apologize for those of you who are expecting some talent from me today. I do apologize. But I do promise you complete shenanigans during this while Austin is giving the real good information on what to be doing.
So just keep in mind, Curtis is going to voice the characters, and I'm going to be the advisor who's basically using my CRM to prospect new leads and eventually turn them into clients. And so setting the scene for today, we are actually going to start towards the end of a client review meeting. So I'm meeting with my client, Joey, and Joey and I are just wrapping up with our client review meeting. And so
all right, I got my captain's hat because Joey owns a boat.
He does. So here we go. Okay, Joey, I think that just about wraps up our meeting today. Did you have any other questions or concerns I can help out with today?
Oh, I think I'm good for now, Austin. Thank you so much for your help.
Anytime, Joey. Before I let you go, I actually had a question for you. I enjoy working with you. You are an ideal client for me. I'd like to build my practice so that I have more ideal clients like you. Who do you know that fits my ideal client profile? Would you refer them to me?
Oh, yes. My friend Rachel could really use your advice for setting up her retirement plan for her new executive position at Ralph Lauren.
She sounds like a great fit for us. May I have her full name and phone number to reach out?
Sure thing. Her name is Rachel Green. Her number is 123-555-5555. I will let her know I gave you her info.
Awesome. Thank you, Joey. Talk to you soon.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, everybody. So now we've just finished a client review meeting. And of course, we know that the old age saying goes, if it's not in Redtail, it didn't happen. So the first thing, the immediate next step that I take when I finish a client review meeting is to go and enter my review notes into my CRM. Okay. And so today I'm actually going to show that by using our new and improved Redtail mobile app. So give me just a moment here. We're going to go ahead and screen share to my cell phone.
And I absolutely love that we can show this off itself. So the mobile app, I know we talked about a little bit earlier, but for those things you just want to add quickly, like a note and activity, the mobile app is there and available for you to do so.
Mm-hmm. So here we are. This is my iPhone 10. And oops, sorry, getting a text message there. We have the CRM app here. So the white background with the red dog is the most updated mobile app. And so we're just going to go ahead and click into there. And what it's going to do is it's going to log me in. Now, our Redtail mobile app supports both Face ID and Touch ID. So that's what you saw there. If your device doesn't support that, it's just going to ask you to enter in your username and password. Okay. And so now that I'm in the mobile app, we have the Today page, which gives me a look at all of my actions today. But since we're entering notes for Joey, what we're going to do is we're going to click on those 3 red bars in the top left corner. And when I do that, a menu like this is going to appear. And so just like we would in our CRM, we're going to go to the contacts. So here are my contacts, A to Z. Now, Joey's last name starts with a T, so I could, in theory, scroll all the way down to the T's, but that might take a while. Let's instead use the search option here to jump down to Joey's last name. So I'm just going to start typing in his last name, and there he is. And so clicking on his name here will take me to his contact record. And so we can see here his phone number, his email address, his address, some really cool stuff you could do. Like you can place phone calls by clicking on the phone number. You can send text by clicking on the phone number. You can send an email by clicking on the email address. But
One thing I actually want to point out as well is yesterday we talked about that star, that favorite icon, and how I gave the suggestion the current people you're working with, mark them with as your favorite. So if you know, hey, I have these people I'm doing a review with this week, mark them as favorites. So in the mobile app, you can actually find them even faster because of that favorite option.
Yeah. So,
I love that ability that it will interact that way.
so just to show what Curtis is talking about here is we can click on that little star icon. And you'll notice that it's now filled in with a complete yellow color. And that means now Joey is a favorite contact of mine. And so now when I go back to my contacts, I could choose the little star icon there in the bottom left. And that's going to pull up my favorite contacts, which you'll see Joey is now included on that list. So consider using favorites to get to contacts quickly in your mobile app. Okay, so now that we're on Joey's record, we want to enter in those client notes. And so what we're going to look for is a little notepad here. It's the fourth icon over to the right. And you notice that it's now highlighted in red, and it shows me notes that I've previously entered in for Joey. If I want to add a new note, I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button here. And then I'm going to choose the yellowish orange note icon to add a new note to Joey's record.
I think I would call that peach.
We call that peach.
That's
Full
peach.
disclosure, I'm a little colorblind, so don't take my advice with colors. But the first thing we're going to do is enter in the category. So this was a client review meeting, so I'm going to categorize it as such. And there it is, client review meeting. And then now we can go ahead and enter in that note. And so if I got fast thumbs, I can go ahead and type in my note here. Or what I love to do with the mobile app is to use voice dictation, because my iPhone 10 becomes equipped with a microphone icon here that allows me to use voice to text. And so you can see that microphone icon there on my keyboard in the bottom right. I'm just going to go ahead and use my voice to type out my note rather than my thumbs. And so here we go. Met with Joey today to discuss 2021 financial goals, period. He is still on track to retire in 2030, period. No major changes to financial goals at this time, period. Joey did mention selling his boat soon and would like to invest the profits into his portfolio, period. He also provided Rachel Green as a referral, period.
All right. Now, I do want to keep in mind, again, that voice dictation is not like a service that Redtail created. It is just part of the keyboard in your actual phone. So if you have an iPhone or an Android or a Pixel, like that is something that the phone has built into their own keyboard when you type. So again, if you have questions about that voice dictation itself, it's not anything that Redtail created, but it does help make things a little faster. If you do the voice to text, normally it's the same concept.
Now, another question we also get with this is, how does this compare with some other services like Mobile Assistant or CopyTalk? When I transcribe this note, this is a computer, in this case, Apple Siri, transcribing my note. When you use a service like CopyTalk or Mobile Assistant, that's actually a human being going to read a recording and record that note for you. And so in this case, I was able to dictate it out, and I don't see any major spelling errors. Looks like Siri got it pretty good this time, but there are instances where it might not come back as accurate as you would get with something like CopyTalk or Mobile Assistant. And so make sure to always read through your note and make sure that it is accurate, because again, it's a computer listening to you, and sometimes those aren't as accurate as what a human being would hear. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that note. And then another question that we often get with this is this note being synced back to my desktop CRM? The answer is yes, it's going to happen instantaneously. So as soon as I save the note in the mobile app, it's automatically going to add that note also to the CRM record in my desktop version as well. It's really the same CRM system. We're just accessing it in a different format. Okay. Another thing that I want to do after I finish my meeting with Joey is he did mention selling his boat. And so for me, that's going to be a new opportunity, because it's an opportunity for me to get more assets under management. And so what I'm also going to do now is I'm just going to go to click on this menu bar here at the top left to open up my menus, and I'm going to open up my opportunity section. And I want to remember that I'm going to be following up with Joey about that boat sale. So that way, when he sells his boat and he gets that cash on hand, he can reach out to me and we can go ahead and get that money invested in the market so he can begin accumulating that compound interest. And so let's go ahead and hit this plus button here in the bottom right to add a new opportunity. Okay. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a title. Joey is selling his boat. Again, if you wanted to use voice dictation here as well, you do have that option. I noticed he said that he was going to sell it by the end of November. So that's what I'm going to create for myself as a close date. We're going to go ahead and put this under the stage of maybe data gathering, because I need to find out when he's going to sell that boat. The type here is going to be existing business, because I already have an existing relationship with Joey. He already has accounts with me. We're just going to be expanding on those. I'm going to assign it to myself, because I am Joey's advisor. And then he did tell me that he was going to be selling the boat for about $20,000. So I'm going to go ahead and put that amount in there as well.
I believe that's what he actually bought it for, was 20,000. That's really selling a boat 20 years later for the same amount of money.
Yeah, maybe we should take. I think Joey was a little ambitious on how much he wanted to sell the boat. So maybe let's see, maybe he gets 7,000 for it.
I don't know if I'm assuming boats depreciate just like cars. But...
Yeah, probably even faster than cars, I would assume. We know that boats, they break down. My uncle has a joke. He says boats stand for about another 1,000, because you have to pay another 1,000 every time something breaks on it. So they are quite the money pit, but they are also a lot of fun. The other thing that I want to do here while I'm in my mobile app is I want to add that contact information that Joey shared with me about Rachel. And that way I have her in my database for when I want to start prospecting. So I'm also going to go to the contacts options again. And this time I'm going to click the plus button to add a new contact to my database. So Rachel is going to be an individual contact. Right now, I only know that her name is Rachel Green. And Joey did give me her phone number, but let's go ahead and put in the status here. Oh, I think I scrolled too far. Let's go to the status. Right now, she's a lead, and we're going to put her under the category of warm. So leads in my database mean that I haven't quite contacted that person yet. Once I contact them, then I change them to prospect. So that's why I'm entering them in as a lead until I get a hold of Rachel. Okay, and so we'll just go ahead and save this contact with the minimal piece of information that we have at this point. And that's going to go ahead and add that contact to Redtail. And so let's go ahead now, and we are going to jump to the next day. And so here we go. This is the next day. We're going to log into our Redtail CRM in the morning, just like we learned in Everyday Efficiency. And we're going to land on our Today page. And so if you noticed here, when I just scroll down just a little bit here to my workflow tasks to do today, we already have 2 workflow tasks already created to make that phone call to Rachel. Now, you're probably thinking I must have done that before the presentation started, but I didn't. I used an automation. So when I added Rachel to my mobile app as a lead with the category of warm, I have an automation in my database to start my prospecting workflow. And so now the next morning when I come in, log into Redtail, I already have a task at hand to send Rachel a phone call and also to send her an email. Okay, and so let's go ahead and get started with that workflow. We're going to get started with it right now. And so we're going to go ahead and give Rachel a call.
All right. Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and get a little dial tone here.
Is this what got my Rachel wig looking? All right. Hello, this is Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. This is Austin with Rollover Advisory Services. Joey gave me your number. How are you today?
Yes. He told me you'd reach out. Hi, Austin.
Hi. First off, congratulations on your new executive position with Ralph Lauren.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited for the new opportunity.
I bet. So Joey said that you need some help making sense of the retirement plan they're offering you.
Yes, I think I understand it, but would really like someone to look at it and explain it better.
I can certainly help you with that. Why don't you send me a copy of it? I'll review it, and then we can set up a call for later this week to go over it. How does Friday at 4 p.m. work for you?
Friday at 4 p.m. works perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. May I have your email address?
Yes, my email is rachel.green@centralperk.com.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and send you an email. Go ahead and reply back with the documents regarding your retirement plans. Talk to you on Friday.
Thanks, Austin. Talk to you then.
All right, everybody. So great news. We got a hold of Rachel on the first try. And so we can go ahead and mark off our prospecting phone call as complete here. And then, of course, I also said that I was going to be following up with an email to Rachel as well. And so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and open up her contact record here by clicking on her name, which is going to take me to her contact record. Let's make sure that we have an email address added and that email address is marked primary. So let's first add the email, and her email was rachel.green@centralperk.com. And of course, just like we learned in the last section, we're going to want to make sure that we have a primary address. So I'm going to click that box labeled primary. All righty. And now that we've made contact with Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and, first I need to send out that email. So now that we have the email address, I'm just going to go ahead and click it here. And we are going to go ahead and send out that email to request for Rachel's retirement documents. Now, thankfully, I do this quite frequently, and so I have a template already ready for me to use. I'm going to go ahead and choose the template here to request documents for Rachel. Okay, and so we'll go ahead and send out that email to Rachel, and she's going to go ahead and reply back with those documents. Okay, also, since I've made contact with Rachel, I can go ahead and update the contact details at this point. We can go ahead and edit this here to indicate that now she is now a prospect, and I'm going to put her under the hot category because she did seem very interested when we talked about wanting to receive my services. So let's go ahead and edit the status here, and then of course we can go down here and mark off that first email as complete. Now at this point, I can. Since she is already interested in a meeting, we already set that for Friday at 4. I'm going to go ahead and use an outcome to skip right to that meeting. Now, if she wasn't, like for example, maybe I only got her voicemail or she was busy at the current time, I could also use the outcome to just record another interaction. So in this case, though, I'm going to skip right to interested in meeting, and we can go ahead and enter in the step notes. So scheduled.
And then while Austin's making that note, I want to point out this workflow that we're using is something that we already pre-built out into the system. We actually have this exact copy available like in our Redtail sample templates. So if you actually search Redtail sample templates in our help desk, you can actually find the similar workflow if you want to build some sort of cadence just like we're doing for the prospecting workflow.
Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and complete that step. And since Rachel was interested in the meeting, it wants me to update to the contact category, which I already did. So I'll mark that complete. And then we need to schedule a meeting, which we already did for Friday at 4. So let's do that now. We're going to add an activity on our calendar to meet with Rachel Friday at 4. Okay, so we're going to say this is a discovery meeting. Well, actually, you know what? I have a template that's going to make this a lot faster. So let's do a prospecting engagement meeting here.
Awesome. I love those templates. It really does save you time, especially if you have a structure where you are trying to bring in leads and prospects and make them clients. You're doing the same types of meetings over and over. So you really need to take advantage and make those templates.
Yeah, makes it so much faster. All I had to do is put in the date and the time. Everything else is already set up for me, and it just makes everything faster. So let's go ahead and create that activity. So now we have it on our calendar that we're going to be meeting with Rachel at 4 o'clock. All right. Now, I kind of got a little ahead of myself here, but you might have noticed that this next workflow has also started. Now, you're probably wondering, how did that one get in there? Well, that again is the power of automation. So because I changed Rachel's contact details from lead to prospect, the second workflow, prospecting number 2, has been linked to her contact record and has already begun. So now we're already going to go ahead and start getting ready for Rachel's meeting. So here's all the steps that we need to take for our discovery meeting, and it's all been assigned out in my database, and each person knows exactly what needs to get done.
Yep. That's also a really great example when I've talked to users, and they have different processes, even for the same thing. Like prospecting is one, you know, topic in itself, but there's different things happening. There's what you need to do after you add the lead. There's what you need to do to set up for the meeting. So having multiple workflows going, because they all exist in their own little, like they're their own gears that are moving forward, is a good thing to have. And numbering them how we do makes it easier to understand. So there's a prospecting 1, prospecting 2. You might even have like 8 prospecting workflows depending on how things go. I haven't seen it that much, but it is possible. And everything, all the gears are going to work together so you can stay on top of it.
All right, awesome. So now that we are ready for that meeting, let's go ahead and we can fast forward to it and go ahead and jump back to giving Rachel another call. So,
all right, I'll get my Rachel look back. There we go. She went blonde.
Actually, Curtis, I'm sorry. I got a little ahead of myself again. You just emailed me, or so you, Rachel, have just emailed me your documents. And so we need to go ahead and process those documents and save them to your record. So let's do that first, because I did get an email back from you saying that that you did send me those retirement documents. So let's go ahead and process those now. Since I received something from Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and add a note to her record. And so let's go ahead and add it here. We're going to say received retirement documents from Rachel. Okay, and I'll just say see attached. All right, and so we have that added here. I'm going to go ahead and put this under prospecting for my category because we're still in that process of prospecting. Let's go ahead and put it under discovery meeting. And I'm going to go ahead and add Rachel's files here to the note. So that way I have them if I ever need to refer back to them. So you can see now my file explorer here has been opened up on my computer. I'm going to go ahead and find that file that I had saved to my desktop here for Rachel's retirement plan. I'm going to open it and go ahead and upload it with this note.
Now, these documents do go to the CRM document storage. So even though it's a note and we're linking the document, it will still be in the contact CRM document storage.
Yeah, and just for anybody that's confused on that, documents can be found here on the left-hand side for documents and CRM document storage. You can see here is Rachel's retirement plan saved for me as part of her document section. Okay, and then so also because I said that I was going to provide recommendations to Rachel, I'm going to go ahead and follow up with another email, and we're going to go ahead and click Rachel's email address here. And I have a template that I use for retirement plan recommendations. And so I'm going to go ahead and use that and just going to go ahead and put in some of the minor details. So her employer matches up to 5%. Of course, we want to take advantage of that. We also can contribute up to $1,200 to an HSA and go ahead and send out that email. So now Rachel has received our documents. And so now it's time for us to follow up with her and see what she thinks. So let's do that now. Good afternoon, Rachel. This is Austin from Rollover Advisory Services. Just checking in to see if you had a chance to review our recommendation about your retirement plans.
Yes, thanks for taking a look at that. It's great advice.
You're very welcome, Rachel. At Rollover Advisory Services, we strive to help individuals like yourself not only set up well for their goals, but also follow that plan through to fruition. We want to be there for every financial complexity you may encounter. With that said, we'd be honored if you'd become a client of ours and help you reach your financial goals. Does this sound like something you're interested in?
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Awesome, Rachel. I'll reach out to you again to begin the onboarding process. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, everybody. Well, congratulations. We just scored a new client. And so let's go ahead and make those changes in our database. So the first things first, we need to go ahead and finish out this discovery meeting. So we did prep the conference room. Looks like we need to update Redtail with the meeting notes. And so let's do that now. I'm just going to keep it nice and short here. Rachel wants to be our client.
Woo! Gotta
Woo!
celebrate that.
And so let's go ahead and categorize this as an onboarding meeting because now the onboarding process has begun. And we're going to go ahead and save that note. Complete this. We could at this point also add Rachel as an opportunity because I've already kind of gotten a sense that she does want to continue forward. I'm going to go ahead and skip that step by just marking it complete. And we'll go ahead and jump right to interested.
And actually, I wanna talk a little bit on what Austin just said. There is a lot of people will do prospecting in their opportunities versus like a workflow. We just like to point out that you can set up your process what's going to work best for you. So if you want your prospects not in like this actual workflow process, set them up as an opportunity, and you can use the stages that are customizable to take them through a similar, a little more manual process itself. Or again, you can use a combination of everything. But I mean, workflows, automations, notes, activities, the status category, all of these different options are how you can build your process customized to your own office.
Now, I also wanted to just demo here also if Rachel wasn't interested in moving forward and what we might do there. Notice we have outcomes in our workflows that help us to choose how we want to proceed forward in the process. So maybe Rachel still needed some more time. We would go ahead and set up a workflow task for us to go ahead and follow up. Maybe she was interested like she was. We jumped right to interested. Or maybe she wasn't interested. Notice that now when we choose the not interested portion of this, we get different workflow tasks. So we're going to update the contact category to this time as maybe prospect lost. Okay, but in this case, that's not the truth. The truth is we do have a new client and she is interested in signing up. So let's move forward with these workflow tasks here by first updating the contact status and the contact category. And so here we go. We're going to go to contact details. We're going to edit, and I'm going to change Rachel to an active client, and we're going to start her off as a single A and go ahead and update those contact details. Now, again, what you'll notice is if I go ahead and hit this refresh button here at the top of my page, another workflow process has begun. And that's our onboarding workflow. And so now because we've changed Rachel from a prospect to an active client, we know that we need to begin the onboarding process. And so therefore those tasks have been assigned. But
So Austin, if I get this right, so far we've had 3 automated workflows. The first one was when the trigger was add contact, where they had to be a status of lead. The second one was when we created an activity for an actual discovery meeting. And the third one was just now when we changed a contact status.
yes.
So like those are 3 different trigger events based off of our process that started our workflows to move us forward.
Absolutely. Yep, you got it, Curtis.
Awesome.
We have different triggers in our database based off of whatever our process is, but the idea is that we're continually being fed these workflow tasks, so we're moving Rachel along in the process.
It's almost like you really don't need to think about it, like because the workflow tells you what to do next, and it's just like all of a sudden I add the activity because that's what the workflow said, and now that started my next workflow. So really, like when we get those questions of like, can one workflow start another workflow, I always encourage people, take a step back, think about the action that you need to do that really needs to set it off. So it is based off of, maybe it should be based off of a status change or an activity added. Those are the kinds of things you really want to look at. Even though we would love to see one workflow start another, but taking a step back and looking at what is the actual end goal and what is actually pushing us forward is going to help you understand what's going to work best for you.
Now, for some of you, you might not like that automation. You feel like it's uncontrollable. Some people, Curtis, I always love your analogy about the sink, right? With an automatic sink, sometimes it's convenient to put your hands under the sink and the water starts for you. But sometimes, you want to have a little bit more control and use that manual knob. So that way you can control your water temperatures a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Those automated sinks, I can never get to work. Like
Right.
It's like I go under, I can't find it. If my hands aren't right here and only the water touches my fingertips, when I move it forward, it turns off. It's a nightmare sometimes. But again, that's automation, technology itself. You got to be very specific about things. And again, I forgot about that analogy. I'm really glad you brought that up.
So for those of us that want a more manual process, you can see here that you can also include, like we covered in client communications, a task at the end of the prospecting workflow to begin the next one. In this case, I don't need to do this because an automation already took care of it for me. But if you prefer a more manual process, make a last task for yourself in the workflow to start the next workflow. Okay, and so since we don't need to do that, I'll go ahead and mark it as finished, and we'll go ahead and proceed now with the onboarding process. So now we have those different onboarding items for Rachel. And so let's start with the first one, basic information. Looks like I spelled Rachel's name wrong. So let's go ahead and correct that. I'm going to choose the basic information here, edit basic information. It's the little guy with the pencil on his shoulder. And let's go ahead and fix her name. And we'll go ahead and update that individual and mark off that onboarding task as complete. Next up is the contact photo. So if you want to add a photo to Rachel, I always like to have a face for the name. You can go ahead and click on this little icon here to upload a contact photo. You're going to need to have a file saved to your computer with that file.
I absolutely love the photos for my memory itself, because you might have, like, John Smith is a very common name, but you might actually have multiple John Smiths, and putting their photo is going to help you remember, okay, it's this specific John, not the other John, you know, all these different options. A lot of people, it's awkward to say, hey, can I take your photo? If you don't want to ask them to take your photo, if you happen to scan a driver's license, if you happen to have that already, you could upload that and then crop in, just like Austin is doing, on their photo. This is not something that your client is ever going to see. Like, they're not going to necessarily know that that's the photo you have of them. I mean, if you see their Facebook, take their Facebook profile photo, whatever you can do in regards to whatever your compliance limits. So keep that in mind as well. You know, use it so you can actually help remember different things. That you're going to remember the interaction because you see a picture.
All right, awesome. So there it is. The photo has been added, and we have now a face to the name. Okay, and let's keep moving forward with our onboarding workflow. I'm not going to highlight all of these just for time's sake, but there were a couple that I wanted to show, specifically setting up the contact family. We learned earlier today how important that is for using those mail merge and broadcast email capabilities. So let's go ahead and create a new family for Rachel by using that create new family option here. I'm just going to enter in as a single individual today. And therefore, we don't need to link any other contacts to her record. If we did, we could, of course, go ahead and add a spouse or add dependents. But regardless, the most important piece is that we have that family name, even if they are just a single individual. Okay, and then finally, another one that I wanted to highlight as part of the onboarding process is adding memberships. So we know that Joey was a relationship that she shared. So let's go ahead and enter him in now under the edit field here. So the source was a referral, and Joey was our referrals referred by. So we can go ahead and enter him in there as well. But I also may want to record that relationship that Joey and Rachel share as well. So not only is Joey the referral, but maybe we also want to record that her and Joey are friends. What we would use that is for memberships. And so if we go to the left-hand side here, choose the more option. We're going to expand this menu and choose memberships. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and add a new membership by clicking on this add button here on the right-hand side. And we'll just go ahead and type in Joey's name. And you'll notice that as I do that, his name appears in the dropdown. So I'll go ahead and select him. And we'll go ahead and indicate the relationship. In this case, they are friends. No pun intended. We'll go ahead and link them both. Joey's a friend of Rachel, and Rachel is a friend of Joey. And so we can go ahead and add that membership. And that keeps us that membership in mind when we either interact with Joey or Rachel's. Again, like we learned yesterday, memberships are two directional. So if I go to Joey's record and open up Joey's memberships, we can also see that Rachel is a friend of Joey. And so those go in both directions.
Now, earlier when you go back to Rachel's record, you see where we typed in his name under referred by. Keep in mind, that is just free form text. That is not linking to a contact record, but it is searchable. You can search, like we talked about in Searching Made Simple yesterday, contact referred by equal to Joey Tribbiani. It'll bring up everybody that Joey's referred because you typed in his name, but that does not link Rachel to the contact. Austin was showing in the memberships because you could actually link the two contacts together in that way. Whereas this is just a visual representation of this is who referred them.
Yep. Great point, Curtis. All right, so let's just go ahead and fast forward. We're going to pretend that I did complete all of these items in the onboarding workflow, which of course, after I finish those, it's going to trigger an outcome. I'm going to mark off that we are completed and ready to move to the initial client meeting. So I'll add a step note here for onboarding complete. Onboarding, well, maybe we should be more specific for contact record complete, because we still have some work to do to get her fully onboarded. Let's go ahead and complete that step. And then now it's time for that initial meeting. So let's go ahead. We're going to jump a little bit fast forward into the actual onboarding meeting with Rachel. And so let's go ahead and give her a call.
All right, Rachel's got to come back.
She's coming back. Okay, and so we are joined we're at the tail end of the onboarding meeting with Rachel. So we've already discussed what we needed to discuss, and now we're just going to go ahead and wrap things up. So
is this the Rachel hair?
I think that just about wraps up our meeting today. Did you have any other questions or concerns that I can help out with today?
I think I'm good for now. Thank you so much for your help.
Anytime, Rachel. Before I let you go, I actually had a question for you. I enjoy working with you. You're an ideal client for me. I'd like to build my practice so that I have more ideal clients like you. Who do you know that fits my ideal client profile? Would you be willing to refer them to me?
Yes. My friend Monica recently got married. Her new husband and her could use some help setting up their finances.
She sounds like a great fit for us. May I have her full name and phone number to reach out?
Sure thing. Her name is Monica Geller. Her number is 555-1234-567. I'll let her know I've given you her info.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. Talk to you soon. All right, folks. So now we have a new lead. So at this point, we would pull out our mobile app again. We'd go ahead and enter in these meeting notes for Rachel, and then we would add Monica as a new lead, and that process would continue. And so that is leveraging the life cycle. We started with an existing client relationship with Joey. We provided him with excellent service, which led him to refer us to a new client, Rachel Green. And then based off of providing a great onboarding experience to Rachel Green, she and then referred us over to her friend Monica. And so the takeaway here is that we can leverage our existing relationships for referrals, and then we can leverage our CRM to track those referrals to provide a great customer experience and get more referrals. So that is leveraging the life cycle.
Awesome. I absolutely love that. And especially you have to think of it, it is a constant circle, like over and over. Not everybody is going to give you that referral, but if you set it up to do so, it's just going to keep rolling. It's like that wheel, just keeps rolling, keeps on going.
Yeah. You could also ask, clients for multiple referrals. So maybe next time I meet with Joey, I ask him that same question again. You're an ideal client for me. Who do you know that fits my description? I can get those leads from my existing clients, and those are going to be the best way to build your book of business, because they're most likely going to be more qualified than buying them off like a marketing list or trying to hunt down people on social media. I know some people are really great at that, but I know for me, it's always easier to meet somebody when I already know someone else that they also know. And so leverage that life cycle to build your book of business.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.